Good morning, everyone. I welcome you to another edition of the Filmmakers Forum. The Filmmakers Forum is an activity organized by the Nollywood Studies Centre of the School of Media and Communication, Pan Atlantic University. We have two guests today, Uzor Arukwe and Daniel Etim-Effiong. We thank them very much for agreeing to be with us. The focus of today's edition is on storytelling in Nollywood. And we have two people here who are, well, very well versed in what's going on in this regard. Okay, so navigating uncommon narratives in Nollywood is our focus. So we thank very much Uzor Arukwe and Daniel Etim-Effiong for being with us. If I
Thank you
may
for
just
having me.
thank you, Uzor. If I could just ask you, please, to put on your camera. Great, and then we'll
Okay.
get going. Thank you. So we will take questions as we go along. So please feel free to post your questions in the chat box and we'll take them from there as we go along. So let me just start with the profile of our guests. Uzor Arukwe is an actor known for his dynamic performances across film, streaming, and digital platforms. Over the years, he has established himself as one of Nollywood's most commercially successful actors, with roles in several major box office and streaming hits. He gained wider industry recognition through performances in productions such as Behind the Scenes and The Tribe Called Judah, Nigeria's highest-grossing films, as well as numerous television and digital releases that have expanded his audience across Africa and beyond. His growing international visibility led to his selection by Netflix as the only Nigerian actor featured in the platform's promotional campaign for Beverly Hills Cops 4 movie premiere in Los Angeles. Uzor has consistently ranked among the industry's leading actors, appearing on the African Actors Impact list and the top 100 influential people in Nollywood. In 2026, he received double nominations at the Africa Magic Viewers' Choice Awards for Best Lead Actor and Best Supporting Actor, winning the award for Best Lead Actor for his performance in Colors of Fire. Beyond cinema exhibition, his work has also driven strong engagement across streaming and YouTube platforms. His recent collaboration on Omoni Oboli's Love in Every Word contributed to the film becoming one of Nollywood's fastest-growing YouTube releases, reaching over 15 million views within days of release. He also produced the 2026 zombie thriller Alive Till Dawn. Through his performances and growing commercial reach, Uzor Arukwe continues to be a prominent figure in contemporary Nollywood. Once again, thank you so much for being with us, Uzor, and welcome to our platform here.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. that introduction was it was electrifying, but yes, thank you.
It's only your due, Uzor. It's only your due.
Thank you. Thank you so much,
Okay,
Prof. Thank you.
great. Our other guest is Daniel. Daniel Etim-Effiong is an actor and filmmaker whose work spans film, television, and digital platforms. Over the past decade, he has established himself as one of Nollywood's leading actors, with performances across a range of critically acclaimed and commercially successful productions. His screen credits include Blood Sisters, Collision Course, The Men's Club, Castle and Castle, Oloture, Kofa, and several other acclaimed film and television productions. His performance in Kofa earned him the Best Actor Award at the Africa International Film Festival in 2022, while his roles in Plan B and Kofa received nominations for Best Actor at the Africa Magic Viewers' Choice Awards in 2020 and 2023, respectively. Beyond acting, Daniel has expanded into directing and producing. In 2025, he directed and starred in the crime thriller The Herd, which screened at the Marché du Film during the Cannes Film Festival. Through his work in front and behind the camera, Daniel continues to contribute to the growth of contemporary Nigerian cinema and the development of African storytelling on global platforms. Daniel, you are most welcome. I don't quite see Daniel's name here. Well, I guess he will join us soon. He's probably trying to log in now. So great, let's get the ball going. And let me throw the first question to you, Uzo, please.
Yes, sir.
Now, we are talking about uncommon narratives in Nollywood. Okay.
Hmm.
So, and looking at this film that you produced, this is one that we will say in the sense of uncommon, is really uncommon. A zombie
Yeah,
thriller. A zombie
yeah.
thriller. So what led you to this? Why did you decide to be not just involved, but even producing this very thing?
Okay, so my journey into film was birthed by trying by being a nonconformist. You know, I don't know if everybody can still hear me. A call just
We can hear you.
interrupted.
Yeah, no, we can hear
Okay,
you.
great.
Great.
So I'm a nonconformist. Sorry, hold on one second. Abby, just give me a second. Let me just finish this. I'll be back soon. Yeah. So I'm on set. I'm sorry, guys. I'm on set, but I had to tell my
Oh,
producer. No, no, it's fine. It's
okay.
fine. So I had to tell my producer to give me a minute. So basically, I'm a non-conformist, and I just wanted to be able to tell stories that I wanted to tell, stories that were art that I perceived as art, and as much as there might not be stories that we are used to from this part of the world, Africa, I don't know that. I think zombies are very fictitious anyway, but I just wanted to tell stories that I wanted to tell. So when I got the script the first time, I was hired first as an actor on that particular story, to just come and perform and leave. And then I saw it, I read it, and I'm like, oh, this is supposed to be like the first zombie film in Nigeria. And I just wanted to, and I liked the producer at the way he went about it, how enthusiastic he was about the entire what's up, Dad? So
Hey, hi. Hi.
so yeah, when I got the script and I said, you know what, let's just jump on it, let's just try and push this film together. It's something that is not common in from this part from Nigeria, and I just really wanted to be part of it. And I mean, it was our first shot at something that hasn't been done before. I know that it could have been better, but I mean, it was our first shot at it, and yeah, I was sold on it by the time I was done reading the script, and I just wanted to be on it.
Fantastic, fantastic. I think Daniel is here now. I see his name. Daniel,
Yes,
if I
yes.
could just turn to you now, can I please ask you to put on your camera?
Hi, my camera is on. I can see everyone clearly. I don't know if you can see or hear
Oh,
me.
now we can see you and
Okay.
hear you.
Okay,
Great.
great.
Thanks.
Great.
Thanks for being with us, Daniel. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for having me,
Right.
IK. Thank you. Hi,
Right.
Uzor.
Hey, man.
Right. Let me turn to you now, Daniel. The herd. What
Yes.
a similar question that I put to Uzo. What made you produce and direct rather that herd, the herd? What led you to that?
Right. Thank you. So believe it or not, my background has always been storytelling. Yes, I started off, as an engineer, 9 to 5. I quit that to get into the Nollywood industry full time because of my love for storytelling. So I wanted to tell stories. I wanted to explore, different genres. I wanted to tell stories that mattered to me. But my inroad into the industry was through acting because um that was my first sort of like exploration into storytelling, acting, because I've been acting since primary school and secondary school and found my love for storytelling through that. But as the industry does, once they see you in a certain light, they want to box you in there. And so I became the actor. I became just the actor. But I did go to school for to learn direct. I've never studied acting, but I've studied directing. I've studied writing and some editing, but never acting. And so when I came back from South Africa, where I studied film, came back to Nigeria and got back into the industry, I was directing TV commercials on the side, but no one knows the TV commercials director. No one bothers to find out who's behind the scenes. It's always the actor or the people who appear in front of the cameras, actors and actresses. However, after doing that for a while, I started to feel a bit jaded, and I wanted more from my. I wanted to create. I wanted more from my creative talent. I demanded more from myself because I was now tired of the same thing, the same stories I was getting. And so I said, you know what, Daniel, if there's anything that's going to change, you have to change it for yourself. Don't wait for people to change it for you. You go out there, look for the kinds of stories you want to tell, and tell it. So that's what happened. I sought out to tell the stories that mattered to me. I reached out to my friends who were writers, and I said, look, do you have any stories that I might be interested in? Do you have any stories that you're working on? And I got a few pitches and went through the decks, went through the synopsis, and I found the herd. One, Lani Aishida wrote it, and he pitched it to me as just a log line. And immediately he told me about it. I'm like, yeah, that's the one. That it was like the story spoke to me, and I'm like, that's the one I want to tell. And then we got into a process of developing the story, and that's how
Great,
the herd was made.
great, fantastic. Now, it strikes me because one of the descriptions in the publications says that it's one of Nollywood's most unsettling and socially resonant crime thrillers in recent years. In the light of most of what is being produced today, it appears new. But if we go back to how the industry started, the stories that were being told then, it seems to me that you have tapped into what has always been at the core of Nollywood storytelling, which is really like a social commentary. Most of the films, most of the stories being told are from there. Do you see yourself doing more of this in the future? Because the short film you produced was also in that line. You're
Well,
commenting on something social.
right. If I may add, I've done a number of short films, and I did Skin, the documentary. To answer your question, I have a knack for telling, for making social commentary and telling conscious stories, because when I left engineering to do film or to tell stories, the one reason I gave people was that I want to be at my deathbed. I want to be old and ready to leave the world and think of my life and know that I impacted lives. I impacted a generation. I did something with my life that I would consider worth living. I did things that are worth living for. So yes, I made that shift to storytelling because I love to impact people. My stories have to be impactful. Skin was highly impactful. It was about colorism. That's my first feature documentary. And now The Herd, also impactful social commentary as well. That was a social commentary as well. So yes, that's really my thing, to tell stories that would drive the message. Stories I believe in. And I think I'm socially conscious personally. And I might not be out there speaking about social issues, but I allow my art, speak for itself. I let my art do the speaking.
Great, thank you, thank you. Now, Uzo, the doing a zombie thriller, I think was a bold
Yeah.
move. It was a bold move, given the. So, what kind of responses did you get? And if you were to go into full-term production or directing in the future, what kind of will this be the path you will take, or are you more inclined to a varied landscape of stories?
The zombie movie was just art for me. It was just it was a norm. There was a gap in the market where we hadn't really done or delved into stories like that. We hadn't really created stories or told stories like that. So I thought, okay, it would be nice to just try our hands on this and see how the market reacts. It was more of, a market sampling type of, project, just to see how the market reactions to stories like that. Now, the
Right.
reactions were very positive, especially because there are people who are zombie heads, who really want to be part of who enjoy zombie movies, right? And they just enjoy watching these things and consuming this thing. So I wanted to just see if I could, tap into that market. And yes, we got some great responses. We got people who were like, yeah, but of course, being our first film, zombie film, we had feedback. We got feedback from people who said, "Oh no, you guys didn't quite get it. There were a few things, So, but we're working on a sequel right now. But anyway, so that was what. So we got a reaction, and we now have feedback. We are now going to go back to the drawing table and try to make better films. However, that is not the only type of story or genre that I will be, delving into. Yes, I feel like my trajectory as a film person would mostly be going into telling different types of stories, different type of genres. But zombie, yes, I like action flicks, I like zombie flicks, I like thrillers, and yes, I'll be telling socially conscious stories as much as I can, like my colleague. And but I have to add, all the films and documentaries that Daniel has done have all been award-winning films. They've all gone ahead to win awards. Skin won an award.
Thank
The
you.
Herd won an award. Yeah. So basically being a storyteller, a filmmaker through and through. I might even delve into documentaries at some point, but basically telling stories and telling them properly, giving proper accounts. Sometimes I also believe, of course, as film buffs or film students, we know that not every story has to be impactful. It can just be for mere entertainment sometimes, just for the heck of it. But most times, as Africans, as Nigerians, we would always want to impact. And yeah, so basically telling different types of stories, different type of genres, and just enjoying my journey as a filmmaker, basically.
Okay, now thank you. This is a question I will pose to both of you. What is the creative process behind deciding whether a story is worth the risk of breaking from established narrative patterns? Well, maybe really I shouldn't be saying just a creative process because it's also a business process. So
Of
it's more
course.
of what is the creative and business process behind deciding whether a story is worth the risk of breaking from established narrative patterns. Let me start with you, Daniel.
Right. So thank you for that. I really believe that no one really knows the answers to these things.
I agree. I agree.
I
I
think
agree, actually.
we just dabble and wish for the best. And sometimes we hit a jackpot and we just once we hit that jackpot, then we replicate it continuously until it doesn't work anymore. Then we look for something else.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just so that someone can learn something of a bit of my process. Um, so for me, it has to speak to me. You know, I'm convinced that if something speaks to me and I respond to it, then it will speak to someone else, and
Yep.
other people would
Absolutely.
and other people would respond to it as well. I'm sorry. Okay, can you see me? Can you hear me? Okay,
We can
cool.
hear,
Yes.
yeah, we can.
So yes. So I interact with the story first, even as a log line, as a synopsis, and then in development. I'm reading, I'm breaking down, and I'm engaging. I have to be moved by it. The story has to speak to me to a level where I'm like, okay, this is a story I'm willing to quote and unquote to die for. It's a story I'm willing to throw in, have to risk it all for. If I hit that level, if I get to that level, then I'm ready to back it up with my time, my energy, my creative resources, everything. I'm willing to back this story. But but as I'm engaging with the process and I'm breaking down and take for example the log line excites me and the synopsis excites me. As I'm moving on with the process of development and breaking it down and engaging, if it starts to lose steam, if I start to lose interest, and I fight for it. I fight for it as much as I can. I ask people, I bounce ideas off my contemporaries and be like, the people that I trust, the ideas. I have this thing where I do a table read even before
The proper
it's
table
even
read.
ready. Yes, I do a
Yeah.
table read, not for casting, not for just for sampling the ideas. We sit around the table in a nice place, we sample the ideas, people tell me what they think, we throw back and forth. I invite a few filmmakers, I invite a few writers, we bounce off ideas. If at that level, I'm reading also the impact on people. Are they, do they find it intriguing? Are they interested in this? Is it just me? Or, there are a few other people who are, signifying interest in this thing. That do I see the sparkle in their eyes? Actors, other filmmakers, editors. These, the process gives me feedback, and I'm working with
Right.
that feedback until the point where I decide that okay, yes, let's go. or not, or maybe not. I'll put that in the cooler until maybe later, and I'll go with other ideas.
Okay, thanks, Daniel. Uzo, you were agreeing as Daniel was talking, but I'm sure
Yeah,
you
so
have
I
something to
mean,
add to that.
like, so the process is the process, and some people tell stories just because of art, someone like Daniel, who most probably, and a few of our colleagues, most probably, who tell conscious stories, who cater to the social commentary of the entire economy or the nation, who want to tell stories that can impact people and stuff like that. Yes, that process, you have to get feedback from people who are on your side, who are members of your team, right? But some people, I've seen some producers or directors or filmmakers who just tell stories that they want to tell stories just because of art, just tell stories that sometimes it might be even historic, something it may be traditional, where a story about where they come from. And sometimes I don't know how impactful some of these stories can be, but it might just be for entertainment, for entertainment purposes, basically. But basically, the process is the process. If the story doesn't make sense to you, if it doesn't ignite something on your inside, there is no reason to go ahead to make films like that, because it's not going to move anybody else if it doesn't move you first. And it's the same thing for directors, it's the same thing for actors. I'm predominantly a trained actor. He's more of a director. He's a director who can act. I'm an actor. I'm going to get my training as a director much later in the future. But so most times, if I do not feel the performance, if I do not feel the scene, if I do not understand what is inquired from the scene as an actor, as the character, most times I would never be able to move the other person emotionally, move the
Right.
people who are consuming this thing emotionally. And that's just the entire thing about it. Filmmaking, basically, you have to feel it first, and then, it just overflows into other things. Yeah.
I'd like to focus a little bit on the business side. It's one
Okay.
thing for the director, the producer, the actors even to feel the passion is out. Say watching could bomb in the theaters, in the cinemas. So how really can one establish a kind of balance? I do something I'm passionate about, but at the same time, I am ensuring that I can carry along a large enough audience to make it profitable, because that I think is always a key aspect of the goal. So what do you think about that, Daniel? How do you when you were
Uh,
making the herd, for instance, I'm sure you also had concerns about its
yes,
commercial
yes,
viability.
absolutely. Thank you for that, IK. So to be honest, right, I'm not the biggest business mind in the industry, right? I'm more of a passion storyteller. I can tell anyone, I can sell anything that I believe in because of my passion. And if I believe I can sell it, then I can convince people to put money behind it, right? However, I don't think no man is an island. So what I did do with the herd was to put business people together and say, look, this is my idea. This is the film I want to make. I'm passionate about it because it's a great story, and I truly believe I can make a great film out of it. I need you to help me sell it. I need you to help me position it in a way that will bring in the money, right? So that speaks to collaboration. I do think that no one has everything, but if you collaborate right, if you have the right people in the room, if you have the right partners, then you'll be able to it's a win-win for everyone. My partners, first of all, my executive producers came on board and said, okay, we love this story. It's a really good story. I think it has all it takes to be a great film. But do this. I think we need to do this and do that. Then they bring inputs. We need these actors in the film to sell it. You need to cast these actors. I might argue out and say, yeah, but I also want to cast these guys because I know they're like, okay, Daniel, yes, but we need these guys to sell the film. So that's the compromise there. That's where you have to decide, are you going to festivals with this film? Are you going to streamers with this film? Are you going to cinemas? If you're going to cinemas, then you need to listen to
Right.
people who are, experts in selling films to the cinemas. You can be stubborn about it and go, no, I'll do it on my way, and then. But I'm not that person. I like to listen, and I like to learn. And it was my first film, and I said, you know what, I will learn from this, my first film. I'll take some of your notes, I'll apply them, I'll get these actors and put the actors in the film, and it worked. You see, it worked. These actors pushed the film, not only gave masterful performances, but also were points where we were able to sell this film to the audience because they recognized these people and they were like, if this person is in it, I'll go watch it. These guys are blockbuster people, stars, people like Uzor Arukwe. You put Uzor Arukwe in your film, you're going to sell, right? Because he's marketable, So that's what you want to do. You want to position your film to get the best of both worlds. So that's the approach for me. That's the approach. I listen to the business people, they advise me, and then I make compromises that won't affect the story, that won't affect how good the film turns out, but also notes that will make sure that the film sells.
Great. Did you have a similar experience, Uzo?
No, yeah, absolutely. For us, I think it wasn't that extreme. We didn't call business people together. So what we did was the first the guy Leo, the producer at first, had done a short film, Road to Jabi, which was relatively it was quite a success. A lot of people didn't see it, but the people who got to see it, talked about it and they really liked it. And then we made the film mostly because of the reactions from the market, just to know. Yes, sometimes in business you have to do market sampling to just be sure. Yes, money went down. We invested money. We have gotten some of our money back, but not as much as we were expect, but we're going back to the drawing table, trying to understand better now what we could have done better the first time and with the first installment, and then just make a better film. But this time, like Daniel did, we are calling business people together. We are going to get more marketable actors. On that one, they tried to hinge it on my shoulders, mostly because at the time I was a more established actor at the time. Most of my colleagues who were on the film at the time were not so bankable. But this time, look, there'll be more characters. So we're just doing everything as Daniel has said. That's what we're going to try to do now. Call business people together, say we're going to try to sell this film. It's a zombie film. We did the first part. Just ask questions and just try to make sure that the script itself is airtight. The performances and the technical part of making the film are also airtight, and just try to make a great film. You never really can tell the films that will get you all the praises when it comes to business, get your money back, get you return on investment and all of that. But most times we try not to hinge our creativity on the financial side, but really we're also making a film to make profit, but yes, we'll just try to do our own homework and just try to make sure that we make a great film.
Can I also
Great.
add that?
Sure.
You have to decide early what path your film is going to take. What do you where do you want to go with the film? Do you want to go to festivals? And all these three parts, you can make money off these three parts, right? Do you want path?
Absolutely.
Do you want to go to festivals and pitch to Europeans and festival guys and get some forex from these guys, and get into that path is one path, right? Another path is you want to go streamers. Do you want to focus on streaming platforms? Although that path now is a bit wobbly now, but that used to be a legitimate route for your film. Like I would just go to streamers. I don't want to go to cinemas. I don't have wahala.
Yeah.
I don't want the cinema wahala. I don't want to be dancing. I don't want to be dancing to sell the film. I just want to go to streamers. I don't want headache. That's a path. Another path is then the cinema path. Legit. You do put the faces. It's the typical Ninja blockbuster route. Another path might also be YouTube. YouTube is a streaming platform that has a different science to it entirely. There are YouTube faces, there are YouTube actors. There's a particular way to make money off YouTube, different from cinemas, different from the streamers. So you have to decide on the path of your film and then take steps towards making it profitable to the platform that you're designing your film for.
First, something both of you have said. If we have to, you could plan a film, bank business. How does that then affect the upcoming act? Because it means that if we're and at the same time the director has this fresh young actor, and is it
Prof, I think
on the look?
the
You
network
need
is
when
bad. I don't know if it's just from my end, but I
No, it's
can't
on
read
my
any
end
of it.
as well. I think
Yeah.
Prof, you're breaking up.
hurry. Okay, sorry, let me switch off my video temporarily. Perhaps
Okay.
Okay.
that will help.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me better?
Yes,
Yes,
we
yes, a
can.
lot
Right.
better now. Yeah.
I was saying, great. I was saying that if from the business we're concerned about bankable faces, that
Hmm.
in order to this film, this story, we need bankable faces, people who are well known. That leave the young upcoming actors. Because you as a director would say, well, the sense I have for this character is a young, fresh face who will do a great job. Then the business people are no, we must have bankable faces. How do you resolve that problem? And then thinking about the growth of young actors, how
Hmm.
do we build that into the picture?
Uzor, I'll let you do the honors.
I was going to push. I was going to push the button to you,
You're
but
passing the
since you caught me first. Okay, so it's a very funny dynamic in the sense that I feel like it's a mix. It's a if it's properly mixed, then it will work. So for the herd, there was Daniel, who directed and also starred in it. There was Kuli Remy, there was Genevieve, there was Inhioma, Linda, Ejiofor. So those were bankable faces, but there were also Northerners or some guys from Abuja, from the north, who Daniel had cast, who are relatively new faces. So you start from somewhere. I mean, in every industry, every film industry in the world, you always start from somewhere. You're not going to just play lead. If you're lucky, I mean, there are new faces who have gone ahead to play lead on their first project, like the one I just did called Evie. But most times you start from the ground up. So there would be bankable or marketable faces, in the ensemble, but there would also be actors who are just starting off, who need some sort of encouragement, where so they are
right.
playing supporting, and by supporting, they are also building their confidence, understanding the do's and don'ts on sets, basically doing all of these things, positioning themselves to become better or leading men, basically. So sometimes, yes, there is always that clash. I mean, before the actors, there were influencers where there would be a question of numbers. You say, oh, this person is not really an actor, but he will give us the numbers. He had over 1 million followers on IG. He had over 1 million. And it happened to me. It affected me because at the time, I didn't have a lot of numbers. And a lot of people didn't want to cast me because they didn't think I was marketable or bankable. But over time, as you're trying to prove yourself in the industry, yes. But that conversation has also changed from people just hiring influencers or people just hiring people who have numbers. There are a lot of directors like Daniel who actually need performers, who need people who can actually act. Not necessarily about the numbers, but basically getting people who can act, put them in somewhere and encourage them and give them a platform to become better actors or become leading men or women, basically.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. That's a very good response indeed. Well, I have a question here from Helen, who is asking, is it just business people or those who understand the business of filmmaking and audience consumption patterns?
It's a mix of both. It's a mix of both. It's not just business people, but there's a science of filmmaking, and especially in the business part of it. That's what they call cinema science. It's tough. And like Daniel said, even for YouTube, there's a science to it. There's a rhythm to it. So there are people who actually understand the business. So and you have to always refer to this people. You have to always consult these people. If you intend to make money, you always have to consult these people. There's no way around it. You have to.
I mean,
Prof,
also,
my producer, I'm sorry, Danny, my producer is like, he's literally standing right here. He's been eyeballing me. I most probably would have to take a bow now. I might still be listening in, but I'll just try to get into costume now. And then, but I might have to turn off my camera, and then just get to work, but I'll still be here. basically.
Okay. So just let me know when you are able to answer a question. So then
Sure, sure, sure.
then
I'll be here.
we'll come
I'll
back
be
to
here.
you. Great. Thank
Sure.
you.
Thanks,
Thank
Uzor.
So
you.
well,
Thanks, Danny.
thanks a lot, Uzor. Thank you. Well,
Thank you.
Daniel, you're going to carry the weight of this now.
I'm still here. I'm still here, bro. I'm
hopefully,
still here.
hopefully Uzor will
I
join
know.
us. Uzor will join us after he's seen.
Okay. So well, you
Yes,
just
yes,
let me
yes.
know when you can answer so I don't disturb you too much,
Sure.
Uzor.
No
Thank you.
problems. No
Now,
problems at all. Thank you.
we have a question here from Oluwafikayomi. Pardon me if I have massacred that name. Who's asking, how can an upcoming make a low budget film that will be profitable? Also, what would you advise an upcoming young filmmaker to produce, since he's just starting out?
Okay, so I'm going to answer this as best as I can because, like I said earlier, no one knows the answers. I can say something now, you go try something else, and it works for you. However, what I can say is I can give you a few nuggets from my experiences, from what I've experienced in the industry, and maybe you can learn from that. There are people who have a pathfinder spirit who don't necessarily want to toe the path anyone has ever tread and want to do their own thing. Be my guest. However, I can only tell you from my experience, um, and 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 from what I've seen. I think I'm a huge believer in the process. Things like Uzo said, you're not just going to become lead overnight. Have there people that have done it? Yes, but that's not the norm. The norm is that you would show up in a few projects as support or as even as a cameo, and then you gradually grow your profile, film by film. Let people notice your talent. And the industry we are in is steeped in formulas. People just want to do what works. No one wants to explore. Investors are not willing to throw their money in things that haven't been done.
Yeah.
Tell me the things that have been done. That's why it appears that we're doing a lot of comedy because at the moment it feels it's comedy that is working. So everyone wants to invest in a comedy. Then there was a time it was gangster flicks. Then everyone wanted to do gangster flicks because it appeared that it was gangster flicks that was working. There was a time it was maybe even horror films in the days of the home videos, horror films. So everyone wanted to make horror films. But if you realize that we're moving from genre to genre we've been moving from genre to genre over the years, meaning that the genre is not the problem in itself. If you do what it takes, any genre can sell. I say that to say this. Young filmmaker, you want to make a film. How do you make a film that's profitable? Collaborate. Don't do it on your own. You don't have what it takes to do it all by yourself. Collaborate. Put a few heads together, pull your resources together. If you have 2 million naira, you want to make a film, why don't you get 10 other people to bring 2 million nairas and then have 20 million naira, and then you have a bigger budget, you stand a better chance at being successful. Because cinema is capital intensive. You need a lot of money to do it, except you want to go to YouTube. Even if you want to go to YouTube, you still need, at least right now, an average YouTube flick goes for 10, 15 million. An average one, YouTube. So now, that's if you want to do that, you also need to collaborate across board and be humble enough to say, you know what, I'll collaborate with someone. I don't have to be everywhere. I don't have to be director, producer, cinematographer. No, you pick a role, collaborate with someone else, let the person pick their own roles, and then let's serve the story, let's serve the art rather than serve ourselves and our egos. I don't know if I answered that question.
No, I think that's a good response. Of course, there are more follow-up questions, but I just wanted to add that in line with what you said earlier, I think this links up very well because you said, well, think about what you want to do with that film. Are you going to a festival? Are you going for streaming or cinemas? Each one of these will also go with that decision of how much one has to spend and the kinds of
Right.
things that one is going to put in. So I think that
Right.
what you said earlier ties in very well with this. Well, Helling says that the herd had a good mix of upcoming acts and established ones, especially the bandit scenes were very good. So that's point you made also about taking smaller roles as a way of introducing yourself
Yes.
to the audience. Okay.
Yes.
Oluwafikayomi has a follow-up question and says, I have produced 4 short films. One with teenagers to speak about bullying, another with adults to talk about romance, another about sacrifice. They're winning film festival awards, but they are free film festivals that aren't giving any money back. Now I need more money to produce more. What would you advise me?
Wow. Oh, well done. First of all, for making 4 short films. That's something. Short films are not very marketable. They're not. They won't get you a lot of money. However, they will show people what you can do. So it's you trying your hands on something before you get to the big stage. And two, it will prove to your investors that if you're successful in little, you will be successful in much. So it will prove to your investors that if you've tried your hands on short films successfully, a feature film is just a bunch of short films put together and tied together to tell a much larger story. It's always scene by scene. One of the things they taught me in film school is, there's a saying that how do you eat an elephant? Bit by bit. That's how you shoot. That's how you shoot a film, or that's how you shoot a big scene, bit by bit. You take it scene by scene. So if you are successful with a short film, you will be successful with the feature film. What can you do? Take that as your portfolio in a hunt for investment, for bigger investment for your feature film. You will have to knock on doors. You will have to source for funding like I did. It took me 2 years to raise funding for The Herd. 2 years. And it was because it was my first time. I was already an established actor. Still, it took me 2 years to raise the kind of money I was looking for. So it will take you time. It won't happen overnight. So take your portfolio with your short films, go and knock on doors, speak to people, speak to your family members first, then speak to business people. Your family will be more inclined to investing in your first film. So family, then business friends, family friends, then business people, speak to them, and one door at a time. You take your no's gratefully, gracefully, and then look forward to your yeses, and the yeses will come.
Actually, Oluwafikayomi, I would say he's done quite a lot because he says he's just 16 years old. He's a 16-year-old
Wow.
actor, writer, director,
Wow.
and film producer, and also owns a creative community with over 150 members and a film
Whoosh.
production company. Well, you seem to be flying, eh? Well, he's interested in working with you, so there you have it. I
Absolutely.
have
Let's
a
connect. Let's connect, Olu Africa. Send me a message in my DMs.
great. Then Chimezirim says, from your experience as actors, what advice would you give a story writer to ensure that a story is not only interesting on paper, but also practical and compelling to act or
Ah, hello, can you hear me? Okay, I think you just froze there, Prof.
yeah.
Hello, Prof. Can you hear me? Is it from my end? Hello? Hello?
Uh, hello, can you hear?
Oh, okay. They can hear me, Prof. So I think the
Okay.
issue, the network is from your end. I think it's a bit better now. Let's hear.
Yes, I'm
Hello?
sorry, I can hear you, and then it's from my
Okay.
end, I think. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Okay. Yes, I can. It's better now.
Okay, okay, sorry about that. I put up my video for a
Yes.
moment. It's
Okay.
fluctuating.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, Chimezerim is asking, from your experience as actors, what advice would you give a story writer to ensure that a story is not only interesting, but also practical and compelling to act on screen or stage?
Um, so to be honest, to tell a compelling story is probably a skill and maybe a gift even, or a talent. So I wouldn't know. Your writing is either compelling or vivid or not. Some people know how to tell great stories that look great on paper, but when they work, when you're acting it out on stage or in film, then it's not so great. But I think this might help. This might help. Um, you might want to workshop the script, workshop. I believe so much in workshops. Get a bunch of actors together, a bunch of peers together, sit down and discuss the story, get some feedback. I think one thing that bedevils our industry is people like to hold things really close to their chest, and they believe that this little thing they have is all in all, the best thing since sliced bread. Maybe not. You might want to share it and get some feedback. Yeah, Prof.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, I'll just leave off my camera. The network is fluctuating a bit, so I'll just leave that for a moment. No, there's a follow-up question. Well, not a follow-up question, but another question from Blessing. Blessing, who's asking, can we write stories just based on emotions, personal experiences, or imagination?
So I think the big question is where do your stories come from? I think your stories are a mix of several things. Um, your your mind is a potpourri of your experiences, your background, um, your your idiosyncrasies, your faith, even where you currently are right now in life. So all of that gets into your mind, and that's where the story comes from. You can decide to tell any story at all, any genre at all, but it will be filtered through the lens of your purview, and that purview is a mix of different things. It's a mix of, I mean, Prof will tell you better, everything, your your lived experiences, so that's why some people are better at telling certain kinds of stories. It's because of their purview.
Right.
I mean, if you grew up in the ghetto, you probably will be able to tell ghetto stories better. If you grew up in high end Lagos or in Ikoyi or whatever, you might be able to tell those kind of stories better. It doesn't mean you can't tell any story. You can't tell. If you're a good writer, you will be able to, because you have read books, you have experienced life, you have had friends that have given you some sort of you've gisted about different things, so you will be able to pick things here and there. But the real authenticity, will show and will blossom when you tell specific kinds of stories in certain kinds of areas because of your purview. So that can't be hidden. It will always show. However, if you're skilled, then you can write a plethora of things.
I like the word you used there, authenticity. And that's a word that in recent times we've heard a lot more of. We talk a lot about telling authentic African stories, although, well, really, what is an African story? But that's a different discussion. Let's focus
Right.
now on telling authentic Nigerian stories, even though that one also has its problems because there's not one Nigerian story.
Yes. Right.
But then, if we are telling these stories, because one of the things I have seen comments from people who say that many of the stories coming out today are not like the stories of old, in the sense that people say they don't have the same flavor anymore. So that there is a problem in which we oftentimes seem to be trying to ape a little Hollywood. And in doing that, since we're not doing it quite as well as them, we're cutting our stories adrift. So, what would you advise those who are going into the space in terms of storytelling, in terms of being authentic, in terms of tapping into our cultural roots? At the same time, ensuring that one is still global.
Hmm. Oh, Prof, that's such a good question. But it's back to the byword. It's back to the catch word, authenticity. I think you must just tell stories you really believe in. And I think when a story will speak to you for a reason. A story will speak to you because you connect to it. And you connect to that story for a reason. You connect to it because there's something in your life, something in your
Yes.
experience that resonates with it, that feeds that it speaks to, right? So it's to dig into why that story speaks to you and explore that. So what often happens is, probably to answer your question on why the older films have more impact, is because they were not so into these writers were not so much into the Hollywood living and the Hollywood life and all those. They were down to earth people. They were
Yeah.
spare parts, like regular Nigerians. Well, I'm trying to now differentiate between those who were actually trained writers, and maybe not
Right.
trained writers, just
Mhm.
regular writers who were writing from their day-to-day experiences, who were communicating about witchcraft, about land disputes, about these were real authentic stories that they experienced, that is their lived experiences. However, in today's world, we have people who have watched a lot of TV and who are holed up in an apartment in Lekki, spent most of their life maybe in Yaba. And instead of telling stories about their own lived experiences, they want to tell stories that they have learned from their engagement with either social media or movies.
Yeah.
When they say tell a story, you first of all think of the movie you watched instead of thinking about your neighbor whose generator
Exactly.
is so loud and refusing for you to sleep, or obstructing your sleep. That's perhaps why.
Yes, you are quite right, and of course, the another aspect for me that makes this important is that if we do not manage to capture our local audience, then of course one does not have a platform to build on. Because if we ensure,
Yes,
for instance, China can release a film that does very well at home and is
right.
making billions because they're counting on their population. And I think that we have also a very good basis here. The 22 million, if yes, not everybody will go to the cinema, but if we're able to
Yes,
capture this audience, we already have a
yes.
massive financial base. So
And
hence the greater importance really of authentic stories that appeal.
yes, yes, Prof. Absolutely. I believe that your first audience matters. You have to connect with. So first, the most important audience will be you first, and then people like you second. So it will mean some you connect with the story first, absolutely. Then others who have grown up like you, who have family like you, would
Yes,
immediately
yes,
connect with. So that's your immediate surrounding. The third most important will now be Africans in the diaspora, people who maybe grew up like that or have family like that, who might not be in Africa anymore, who are abroad, but I mean, and they are the biggest consumers of YouTube films. Why? Because they are reminiscing with it. They are living vicariously through the stories. That's how they live. That's how they used to live. And then they watch it. After that, then they talk about it, and then others now in the fringes can now come and look, almost like have a window into the African or the Nigerian experience and be like, wow. So that's what it means to be Nigerian, or that's the Nigerian experience.
exactly. Very well put indeed. Well, Uzo is still with us. So Uzo, please chip in at any moment if you are able to.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here.
I know you're there. I'm just saying chipping at any moment. I would
I
whenever you're
will.
able
I
to,
definitely will.
just just
Uzo,
jump
do you
right
have
in.
something to say?
Okay.
Do you have something to add
I
in,
didn't hear
in
the
one
question. We
minute?
literally just finished the scene.
Oh, okay.
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 Okay. No, no, that's all right. Just jumping whenever you can. Now,
Sure.
Oluranti is asking, can acting sustain the actor? If not, what are some of the things an actor can do to survive before the big break?
Oh, please, can I need to jump in on this one.
Please go right
Okay.
ahead.
The camera is still off, but can I just speak without do I
Sure,
have to
sure.
turn on my
Please,
camera?
please. No, no, no. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay, so yes, absolutely. Acting can sustain the actor, and I'm a living proof to that. I think my boy Daniel too is also a living proof to that. Definitely, acting can sustain the actor. In fact, I dare say that it's such a great time to be a filmmaker now, because the dynamics, a lot of narratives have shifted. We earn good money, not as great as some of our contemporaries around the world, but we earn good money, but the thing is that you have to apply yourself. Sometimes, we can't delegate. Not sometimes we can't delegate our jobs. We can't say, oh, you don't want me, but Daniel can go and act for me. Like, can you know? But it's always you that they want. So you have to spread yourself thin. Sometimes you have to always be on set. Yes, you know it's a lot of work, but you have to be able to pace yourself. But you will definitely be sustained. You can actually make a good enough living, you know, as an actor, definitely, because there are different platforms. So there's cinema. People like myself who and you know I'm also referring to Daniel because he's also here, who are able to cut across YouTube and cinema, stand better chances of earning more. Some other actors are mostly maybe they just decide that they want to just do TV or YouTube or you know, but some if you're able to spread your work across every platform, I think you stand a better chance to be sustained or to be fulfilled financially, you know, for lack of a better word.
But Uzo, um, does this not what you've just said? If I'm thinking now of the young upcoming fellow, if one is established or fairly well established, yes, then you can say it's the sustenance aspect. Yes, is easy to see. But for the young upcoming fellow who has to struggle to break in, can we say the same thing in the early stages? I mean,
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, for all of us, even me. I mean, I've earned as low as 1,000 naira before. That's not money, or that's not even sustainable in any form or manner. But I think what pays off on the long run is the consistency. I mean, like even in every
right?
industry, you can enter into an industry as an intern and you're earning even maybe lesser than the minimum wage. But when you stay and work yourself through the ladders and you climb the ladders and you earn your stripes, then you begin to enjoy it. I mean, it's even for you, Prof. You know, I mean, I'm sure when you
Yeah,
just started off maybe as a lecturer or you know, you were not
certainly.
earning as much as you're earning now. So it's the same
Yes,
thing for everybody in every industry. You just have to wait it out. You have to just wait and keep honing your stuff, your skills, your craft. Keep honing it, keep getting better, and keep just trying to position yourself in the industry. And the industry actually thrives on networking. You know, you have to keep meeting people, you know, asking questions, going for auditions, you know, creating, you know, just rebranding yourself, repositioning yourself until you get that opportunity to, you know, to be earning more, basically.
And
fantastic. I
then I
think you.
might add,
Yes,
I,
please.
I might add that, you know, as a young up and coming actor, please don't compare yourself with other more established actors. In that, when you say make a living as a young and up and coming, you might be able to sustain yourself in terms of like you can eat, you can, you know, put clothes on your back, you might be able to rent a place somewhere, a room or something somewhere as an up and coming. So maybe the kind of money you're making there might not give you all you want and all your dreams, but it's able to sustain you somewhat. However, you can augment that, do something on the side if you have to. You know, try not to put too much pressure on your acting because then it will drive you to start to be desperate, and desperation shows, it stinks from afar off. You don't want that. Okay, you want to be driven, but you don't want to be desperate. So try and get other things on the side that might help you not put too much pressure on your acting talent. It will come, but it won't come immediately. So give yourself some time to grow, get other jobs or something. And don't and then I was going to say that social media is a great leveler. You have the internet, you have social media. So where the more established actor can reach, you can also reach. You have people like Kemi Adetiba that calls out for acting,
Yeah.
reels and for tapes. You can sit in your room wherever you have, record with your phone, send it to anyone you want, anywhere. You have that access through social media, through the internet. Okay.
Great. That's some very good advice both of you have given. So consistency, you've said, is key. Find an alternative means of income at the beginning level. However, Adeola here says, I started as an actor, but because the fee wasn't sustainable, I was advised to be a crew member, and it becomes so hard for producers and directors to cast you because they're used to you as a crew member. So in addition to doing something extra, be careful of what that extra is. I guess that
Yes,
would be
especially because
the
Nollywood has a way of putting you in the box. You must
right.
fight it. You must fight it. It's hard, but you have to fight it and refuse to be put in the box. Have your own social media page where you act and post stuff there on your own. Tag people, let people see you acting because talent will always speak. So yes, for a while they might look down on you that, oh, you're just a gaffer. Why are you trying to be an actor? Let them see your page. Let them see that you're putting out good stuff. It will speak in the end.
Yeah, and I think also what Uzo said, to continue honing the craft. Never think I
Right,
have the talent
exactly.
and I'm there already,
Exactly.
but to keep. Okay, great responses. Thank you both. Now, someone is asking, can someone without experience become an actor or actress? I think both of you have already indicated that that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
possible, if but to build on that. Okay, then we have further questions here. There's Frank is asking, what makes a world-class film? Can a filmmaker, like the director, tell from the beginning that this story can make a world-class movie?
Whew. Okay, thanks, Prof. So first, a world-class script doesn't always produce a world-class film. So are we talking
Yeah,
about what makes a world-class script or screenplay, or what makes a world-class movie? So because films are highly collaborative and you're only as good as your weakest link,
yeah,
a world-class film would have to have world-class factors, production factors, world-class elements, rather production elements. So it's a combination of a world-class script or screenplay, a world-class crew, world-class actors, world-class production value. So everything has to come together to make world-class. And world-class doesn't necessarily mean expensive. It just means that it's communicating truth. Every element is communicating truth at high levels, high levels. So in your writing, are you communicating truth at high levels in terms of the writing craft? Are your actors able to communicate truth at high levels in their performances? Is your production design at a high level? All these things come together. So I don't know how to answer that question other than saying that you just have to have world-class departments. Everyone just has to come in with their A game.
okay. Let's turn a little now to the audience. Have you ever been surprised by audience reactions to a project that challenged conventional expectations, or even the ones that did not challenge anything, but the reaction surprised you because you thought that was not what you had planned for, perhaps?
Right. Well, yes and no. And I'll tell you why. No, because um I was pleasant. I mean, because I'm my first audience and my reaction to things already makes me understand how the audience will react. So when I see them reacting, I'm pleased about it, and it makes me feel extremely grateful and all of that. But I'm not surprised because I first experienced it. That's one. Um, the yes is in cases where I gambled on certain decisions, and I'm like, I don't know, I don't know, but I'll just leave it there, you know. And then the reaction to it is like, oh my word, overwhelmingly positive. And I'm like, it worked. Oh my goodness, it worked. It happened to me in Skin, the documentary, where we gambled on one of the characters that was going to be interviewed. And my producer didn't want us to interview the person. I'm like, let's just gamble. Let's just put this person. So win or not win, or no win. Let's just. And then we gambled and we put this person in, and the person was the highlight of the documentary. Another case was where I was involved with a project as an actor, and my filmmaking sensibilities were like all the red flags up that this is a terrible production. This is such a bad production. But it got on the platform and it blew. It went viral. Everyone was saying how much they loved it. They totally ignored all the filmmaking mistakes, totally ignored all the things I was so worried about, and just got hooked on the performance and on the story. And I'm like, that says a lot about audience reaction. Like, you sometimes you think, oh, your audience, and it speaks to the platform as well. There are certain platforms where the audience doesn't care about cameras and how nice the thing looks and how world class it is. Just give them their favorite actors, give them the stories they can relate with, and that's it. They would eat it up, and it taught me a lesson. So that's another area, another example of when I was really surprised.
I guess that brings us back to the importance of determining which platform one wants to put
Yes.
one's film on, because so many things are tied into it, considering that to a large extent we're dealing with different audiences, or at least there will be
Like,
overlaps, but very specific audiences. Now, another question here, please. Many emerging stories are rooted in social realities and lived experiences, as we have already been talking about. What responsibilities would you say a filmmaker has when tackling sensitive or complex social themes?
that's a really good question. I think the first responsibility would be to be true to his interpretation of the story. You can only do what you can do. So that's your first responsibility. Interpret it as best as you can, as truly as you can, be as authentic as possible to the story that you're telling. However, because in the end it's about public consumption, you must also be careful to fall within the guidelines of what has been provided by by constituted authority, census board, if you like, uh, and the other bodies that are watchdogs for what the consumer protection, bodies and parastatals. So that's another thing. So in that regard, it's a pull between your creative license and what you are legally allowed to put out there. I'm of the opinion that as a filmmaker, I like to jar my audience into reality, like jar them to wake up from a slumber. Because when you tell socially conscious stories, sometimes the audience is in a daze.
Right.
They are jaded and they're just like they're fine with whatever. So it's almost like you have to slap them to reality and say, look at what's going on in your society.
Yeah.
You need to wake up to this. And to do that, you might extend your limits of what should be said or shown and what shouldn't be. So it's a fine line, but you have to tread it carefully, responsibly as well. You know what you can show and what you can't show. In fact, they won't let you show certain things, especially if you're going to the cinema. The larger your audience, the more responsible you have to be. YouTube as a platform as well will let you show certain things. No blood,
Yes.
no
Yes.
sexual explicit content. So you have to be aware of those limitations. And I dare say that even as a creative, when you have limitations, when you're confined, it forces your creativity as well. It forces you to work,
Yeah.
to express more. It forces your creative juices to flow more. So I don't believe in saying things like, oh, I couldn't do it because they won't let me show blood, they won't let me know. Less is more. You can show what you want to show even with the restrictions.
Yes, I fully agree with you on that one, because I carried out an interview with filmmakers a while back, and really the responses to a question like this, how they deal with these challenges of restrictions, is that, well, they say we have to become very creative and tell the same thing through
Exactly.
creative means. So really, there's no way around that. Now, there are various comments. I will leave you to read those ones later, Daniel, but there are various comments from people who are trying to reach out to you, who said they've reached out before and need access to your DMs. But I think you can look at those ones. I won't read them out here, but you have them in the chat. We can forward
Right.
them to you later. Now, there's a question um, uh, from Adeola. Oh, no, sorry. I think we already read that one. No, this is from Chimizurim, who says, today, many Nigerian movies seem to focus heavily on romance, either as the main plot or as a major subplot. Does a story need romance to be compelling and commercially successful?
Let me try to answer that. I don't know if you guys can still hear me. Can you still hear
Yes,
me?
we can hear you, Uzor. Please go ahead.
I mean, like, so romance. So the short answer to that question will be no. You don't need romance to be commercially successful. However, there are certain things in films that draw people closer to film that make it interesting, quote and unquote, for viewers to consume. So most people might, some young adults like to see romance. For them, it works for them. It makes the film more interesting. But generally speaking, no, you don't need to have romantic. There are a lot in fact, romance films didn't used to have romance film scenes rather in them for the longest, and they still were very commercially successful. Not until recently where some of them now started putting a bit of kissing and romance in their scenes or in their films. But generally in the times that we are, a lot of people cater to romance. A lot of people like to feel the good feeling of enjoying romance and all of that. Everybody loves to love. I feel like that might be one of the reasons why the film When Love Happened, when love love in every word, the Odogo Parara film. Because
Yes.
people just like that idea of suspended reality where, oh, I'm looking for my own Odogo Parara and all of that. So I feel like, yes, romance can be important, but you don't need it to be commercially successful.
I guess it's just that romance is another human reality, so people can connect to it because it's something they see all around them, and perhaps they would like to
Absolutely.
participate. So great. Now Daniel appears to be frozen. So if you
Yeah.
can, please,
When the
Uzo,
power was
I
cut
will
off, maybe the Wi-Fi was cut
exactly
off as well.
right.
Yeah.
So I will ask you this next question, please.
Okay.
Olives is asking, what's the most practical path for a young actor here to secure legitimate representation? And how do you get yourself in front of producers working on big projects, streaming and cinema projects? I'm positioning myself as seriously as I can, building from absolute scratch, but I'd love insight from people who have been inside those rooms. And if there's ever a project where you need a young person of you, I'm available.
Okay, that's good marketing there. Anyway,
Exactly.
so it's good to always know yourself. Oh, but the short answer to that question would be there is no guaranteed way to positioning yourself as a young actor. I don't, especially in Nigeria, I don't think that you need. Let me just turn on my camera for this. I don't think you need representation. We don't really have agents in Nigeria. We have more managers and maybe road managers and managers who just help you organize your life, help you negotiate and stuff like that. However, as a young up and coming actor, you do not need representation per se. You just need to show up for yourself, go for as many auditions as you can, spar with your colleagues, read. You just keep reading, keep practicing, stage plays, films, whatever you get your hands on, just do it as much as you can. Now, as you grow and network in the industry, you're now beginning to position yourself better. And that's as much as it goes. You don't like Daniel said at some point when he was answering one of his questions, don't compare yourself to anybody. It's your journey, it's your story. Just apply yourself. And in the time, I saw a question or somebody made a comment, just digressing a bit, where they said, "Oh, do you have to be handsome before they cast you?" No, not necessarily. I mean, we've gone past those times. Now it's about the craft. Can you act? Do you understand the technicalities of acting? Do you understand performance, whether it's for stage, whether it's for theater, whether it's for film? Can you act? Do you understand what it means to perform? Do you understand the subtleties of performance, the ambiguity of performance, whether it's for stage or for film? Sorry, someone was trying to call me. And yeah,
Sure.
but basically just stay on your path. Don't worry about remuneration. Don't worry about anything just yet. Just keep getting better because nobody's going to pay for something that doesn't have value. Nobody's going to pay an actor. It's not just enough to speak phonetics and be handsome or beautiful. No, can you do the work? If you can do the work, then just stay there, be consistent, and then you'd have your time, basically.
Great. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Uzo. And I think Olives was very happy with that response, as she has indicated already. Now, another question, please. Can a good high production value film without a single A-list or B-list actor make it to cinema? This is from Prosper.
Please say that again. I will have to take a bow after this question. Not
Sure.
leaving
Thank you.
completely. I
Thank
just
you,
have to
Uzor.
run
I
lines
know.
for my next
Yes.
scene. So
We're,
please just ask the
yes.
question again.
It says, can a good high production value film without a single A-list or B-list actor make it to cinema?
Oh yeah, I mean they will be reluctant to, especially if because there's a monopoly in the industry now. Because Film House is the name of the business, but Film One is their cinema arm of the business, and there's a big monopoly now because they're basically the most. They have the largest distribution because they have more screens in Nigeria. So yes, Film One would actually definitely tell you to put some A-list actors or B-list actors because they're not allowed to waste money because they're trying to secure distribution for you. They know that it's harder to sell a product with people that people do not know, with actors that people do not know. So what they would mostly try to do is balance it out and maybe the leading male and female might be known faces, and then all the other supporting people might be, just up and coming actors. But I don't know that because they do the business. They are the ones who actually focus on the business part of filmmaking. And they would make sure that they use faces that can make sure that they get, at least to an extent, make sure that they get return on investment. But to say that it's just going to be all newbies, all rookies, and they try to make a film, it will be difficult. Not impossible, but very difficult.
Difficult, yes. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Uzor. I know you've got to go now. I think we will also have to go because we've lost Daniel. Oh, no, I think Daniel is back now. Okay, but thanks a lot, Uzor. We appreciate giving us this time. I know you're in the middle of a shoot, so this is very much appreciated. Thank you so much. I will forward to you some of the messages. There's some that are addressed to you directly. People wanting to make contact. We'll just send the details to you. Thanks a lot, Uzor. Thank you so much.
Sorry about that. I think my internet went off.
No trouble, Daniel. Thank you. I am facing the same thing, so I know how that feels. I think we're all used to it. We're all in the same system.
Right.
Great. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Right. So now there is a question here which I can pass to you now. Godwin is asking, how do current distribution channels influence film production in Nigeria? Do these channels help Nigerian films maintain their cultural authenticity? How have they affected the ways filmmakers generate revenue and sustain their businesses today?
Wow, that's the term paper you're asking me to write. Okay. When you mean distribution platforms, I'm sure you're talking about like the streamers, cinemas, different airlines, and I mean these are different distribution platforms.
Yes.
So I would say that, well, first, the influx of the streamers into Nigeria changed the game. How? There was, and with the influx of streamers came an infusion of funding into the film production that sort of raised the standard of our movies. Our movies were great, but with more funding, filmmakers can do more, can do better. And then we saw birth of new voices. We saw more collaborations with Nigerians and Africans in the diaspora, and some non-Africans as well. So it sort of like opened up the industry to different talents, that are within the wider pool of creativity globally. Which was different from what it used to be before. It just used to be a pool of Nigerian talents, both in front and behind the cameras. But with the influx of the streamers came a wider pool, sort of like the pool sort of broadened into people abroad who were in film school abroad, people who, were in other countries in Africa, all just came to Nigeria to say, oh, there's Netflix now with there's this new streamer with new funding. Let's get into it,
Yes.
So that was one impact. Another impact was, whether we like it or not, and I'm still talking about the major streamers like the Netflixes and the Primes and stuff, they came in with some quality control that lifted the general production value, general standards of our films. If you and although they sort of like lowered the bar a little bit as they continued, and now it's back up, but when they started, the bar was really high. Before you could get your film on the platform, you have to have ticked certain boxes. They had to have done quality checks. So everyone had their A game on. Of course, that impacted the industry. Also, for original storytelling, for their original um, partnerships or collaborations, they insisted on certain kinds of stories. So that also helped the local content in that, they were insisted in truly original Nigerian stories by Nigerian filmmakers or Nigerian storytellers. So stuff like that definitely impacted. Okay, now let's switch to a streamer platform like a YouTube. So this is a bit dicey because I'm both a proponent and an opponent of the platform. The YouTube platform helps in that it creates a very wide it creates opportunity for a wide audience to interact and engage with your content. When I started to do YouTube film, I used to be an elitist actor, quote and unquote. Many people didn't know me except you had access to like certain kinds of content. But the moment I started to do YouTube films, I'd be walking down the road and, security guards are hollering at me. Bus conductors are like, no, be this guy, be this, hey, I know this guy. So it opened my audience just changed, right? My fandom pretty much just evolved and morphed into a wider range of people who had access to my films and who knew me and who appreciated my work. So I'm thankful for that. I wouldn't have been the actor I am today without that access that YouTube provided, because very few people have access to your films in cinema. And even fewer people have access to your films on the streaming platforms from outside the country, the international streaming platforms, as it were. But YouTube just dropped the bar to all and sundry who had access to. If you could buy 100 naira worth of data, you'd be able to watch a film, or 200 naira worth of data, you'd be able to watch a film. So that's what it brought. The flip side of that is what I would consider a negative impact, is that it dropped the bar for the production value, for the standards. Anyone could do anything, and as long as it had certain people in it, it will fly. People would watch it. They would make money. So people stopped striving necessarily for excellence in terms of standards and production value and excellence in storytelling, to just doing the barest minimum. Boy meets girl, they fall in love. One cheated, they break up, and they come back together. Just the barest minimum across board, even in the storytelling, even in the technicals, just barest minimum to just get it for people to watch. And people didn't care how good it was made, as long as they had faces that they loved and stories that they could relate with, they would watch it and the filmmaker would make money. I think if we continue in that direction, it will be a really sad day for our industry. No one will strive for excellence, and everyone will just do the barest minimum just to make money. And because of the economy and inflation, the bar will keep dropping. People will keep. Before, we used to make films for 7 days and 10 days for YouTube. Now it's reduced to that. Then it reduced to 6 days. Then it reduced to 4 to 5 days. Now people are making films for 2 days. 2 days. And it's worrisome because yes, it's profitable and people are making money from it, and I'm benefiting from it because I get paid my money regardless. But holistically, if you view it holistically, then it's squeezing creativity further and further into this box of just do whatever you can to get by, giving what you have and make money from it. And film wasn't designed to be, maybe content can survive under that kind of pressure, but maybe not filmmaking, as it were.
But if we go back to what we spoke about earlier, that there are specific platforms for specific things.
Exactly.
If we look at it in that regard, that okay, this is just for this platform, but beyond this platform,
Right.
this mode of doing things will not work. I think,
Right.
but I do think it's important for people to understand that, because many times people will tend to use the same format or
Yardstick.
structure
Yes.
for
Yes.
different platforms,
Yes.
and that could be where a good part of the problem comes from.
So I think also that maybe YouTube is a great platform for content, for skits, for
Yeah,
short format storytelling, and maybe not the best platform for longer format storytelling. But necessity dictates in Nigeria that where the
right,
money flows, you go, demand and
right,
supply. If they're
right.
demanding it here, let's make it a platform for long format storytelling, which maybe it's unsuited for.
Yes, good point. Good point. Now, there's a question here from Oluwafikayomi who says, and I think it's an important question, really. As an actor, how do you improve your acting skills?
That's a
Although
really good question.
he goes ahead to add, and have you ever felt like you aren't handsome enough or fine enough to be cast for a romance film? Is it true that producers cast based on how fine or handsome you are? I mean, for romance films. And how do you
Um,
tell a good film?
So again, it depends on what kind of filmmaker you are. It depends on what kind of platform you're putting your film on. Believe it or not, there's such a thing as a YouTube face, a cinema face, a
Really?
Netflix face. There's such a thing as that. And there are a few of us, like Uzo and myself, who are fortunate and blessed enough to cut across platforms. Um, but I'll answer your question. First, what do you do to improve as an actor? I think it's essential, along with the basics, which is study, get some education, train, all of that. I think it's important, maybe things that aren't said often. It's important to take breaks. And I'm saying this because I know you know the regular, which is, I don't want to say what you already know, but I'll say maybe the things that you might not have heard of. Take breaks. There's such a thing as actor burnout. You can suffer from a burnout. You don't want to get there. Take breaks. Leverage on your downtimes. As an actor, you will have downtimes, especially when you're growing. You have times when you're not working. Leverage on it. Don't see it as a disadvantage. See it as an advantage. Time for you to rest. It's time for you to invest in yourself. It's time for you to do whatever you need to do to grow yourself and to grow your craft. Don't see it as a downtime. See it as an opportunity to invest in yourself. Um, Try to do work for different platforms. It will help you have that crossover effect. Don't just stay holed up on YouTube because you're getting a lot of YouTube gigs. You want to stay there. No, take time away from YouTube and maybe go to cinema, or take time away and maybe do stage. Many screen actors don't explore stage, and stage productions are constantly looking for actors. Go there and hone your craft there. Stage acting is an excellent opportunity for you to train yourself as an actor. There are excellent stage actors in Nigeria that I've learned from, even growing. When I started, I used to do open mic event. I used to do open mic performances, and I met fantastic stage actors, fantastic spoken word artists, and I dabbled into it for a bit, and I learned a lot from them. So you want to have that crossover effect by going to, and it will be challenging because you're out of your comfort zone, but brace up for the challenge and push yourself out of your comfort zone. It's an opportunity to develop yourself and to evolve. So yes, do that as well. Try different platforms. Um, yeah. What else? What was the last question? I forget now. Sorry.
Well, the last part of that was,
Yes.
well, does whether the face, I mean, in choosing people for
Yes.
roles,
Yes.
whether
So
the
yes. So
person's looks
yes. So I
that
started with
determines.
it. I started with it, but I didn't finish. And then let me end with that now. That have I ever felt too handsome for a role or to have? No, I've never felt it. I'm one of those people that just believe in. Yes, and I ended up by saying that it depends on the kind of platform and depends on this the filmmaker, the storyteller. I believe you work for a role or you don't. There are different kinds of faces, different kinds of features, different kinds of beauties, as it were. There's no one way to be beautiful or one way to be good looking. It's whether or not the way you look fits the purpose, fits the role. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The filmmaker just has to be aware enough to know how to cast, or the casting director has to know how to cast for the role and what you're looking for in the performer. I think for me, performance always trumps what a person looks like. However, the way a person looks is important, but I think performance trumps it for me. And then what you look like, and then having to make you fit the mold.
Great, thank you. Now, in line with the thing of working across platforms, Adrian is asking, how would you link content creation to entering Nollywood? Because we do see quite a bit of that, people crossing over. So he's asking now, how is that link done to link content creation to entering Nollywood?
It's a great pathway, but don't be jaded and don't get it confused. Content is not film. Film has a specific language. They use the same tools, but filmmaking is kind of different. You can get away with a lot of things. What filmmakers do that get into trouble is they just transfer the same techniques, everything they do in skits, to making a film. Not quite. It doesn't work like that. You can make the film, and it will look like a film. It will look like it's now a film, but it is not a film because you've made a 2-hour skit. It is not a film. It doesn't have the visual language of filmmaking. It's not. But in Nigeria, in this day and age, anything can pass for a film, but it is not a film. You must hold yourself to higher standards. Yes, you can use that as a pathway into filmmaking, but you must go learn how to make a film. You use the same tools, the same visual tools, but there's a way of telling it. There are other nuances that you might also apply. So the thing is, every filmmaker can be a skit maker, but it's not every skit maker that can be a filmmaker. Okay, so you can apply it's still visual storytelling that you apply to skit making, but skit making, the rules are a bit looser, because of the platform and because it's short format. So the rules are loose. I can go on and on, but I don't want to overflog the issue. But learn how to make a film. It's a great avenue. It's a great path into filmmaking, but you must learn how to do it. Either go to film school or study under someone that you love their filmmaking, so you can almost be like a apprentice under this person. If you don't have the wherewithal to go to a proper film school, study as an apprentice under a proper filmmaker, learn from him, and then go on to make a film.
Great, thank you. Well, Ayowale is asking, I actually noticed that Nollywood isn't exploring some genres as zombie, vampire, sci-fi genres. Okay, I've seen trailers of Ojuju, Uncle Uzor's experimental zombie film, but it seems Nollywood isn't really ready for these genres. Now, as a filmmaker who has a whole bunch of novel stories, how does one navigate these odds? Seeing we're discussing how to navigate uncommon narratives within Nollywood.
It's not true that Nollywood isn't ready for those genres. Is that we haven't found people brave enough to tackle those genres and tackle it well. Again, I say that no one knows the answers. No one knows what works. You only do it, and then it either works or it doesn't work. When it works, everyone says, oh, this is the way to do it because it works. I think we must be brave and explore what we believe in. You see, Uzor has done his zombie flick because he believes in it, and he did well. Okay, before no one had done zombie flicks, and then he does it. You see, by the time they do the sequel, it will pick on. Next thing you know, everyone will want to do a zombie film. There's a sort of herd mentality with most things Nigerian. One person does it and it works, and everyone heads in that direction. But we must be brave and believe in our stories and do what we must. Sometimes no one will believe in it. It doesn't stop you from doing it. Even if no one believes in it and no one wants to invest in it, you start by putting your own money. You start by letting family put their own money, and you see if it's done. I used to tell my investors this. My first responsibility is to tell a great story. Then the next responsibility is selling that great story. They're two separate things. Sometimes the two worlds intersect, right? But they're two different things. Sometimes you might tell the best story in the world and it won't sell. Stanley Kubrick's classics, some of them were bombers at the cinemas. They didn't do what they were cinema flops, blockbuster flops. It doesn't make it not a great story. Years later, people will study it. Prof will bring his students together and they will study your film. It doesn't make it a bad film. It just you just wasn't sold well. And there are different kinds of methods to selling a film. The same way you sell a comedy won't be the same way you sell a horror film or an action film. One size doesn't fit all. You have to tailor your marketing to the genre or to the film, as it were, and then you have a successful sale. You have successful sales and marketing.
Great. Now, as during this conversation, you have referred to festivals as one of the platforms or means through which people can make their films known. So Olurant is asking, as a filmmaker, how has participation in film festivals influenced your work?
Oh, it has influenced my work a lot. Thank you for that question. I was fortunate to start attending film festivals early on in my career. Early on. So my love for film started off with me just watching old time Nollywood flicks, and I fell in love with Nollywood. But when I started to make films as a film student, I immediately got access to festivals. And how did it start? It started with going to film school in Jos, NFI. And when you're around that crowd, everyone is talking about festivals. These are young filmmakers and young film students talking about Berlinale Talent Campus, Berlinale Film Festival, talking about Ouagadougou Film Festival, talking about Durban Fest. This is what young filmmakers talk about in film school in Jos. They're not talking about making money. They're not talking about blockbuster films. No, they're talking about short films and impact and how impactful their films were and about all these festivals that they had access to. So as a young filmmaker, just starting off, without doing any film, I used to dream about going to these places that these guys will talk about. So when I had the opportunity to start making short films and going to festivals, that was the first thing I did, put my film into festivals, and I traveled for festivals before I got into mainstream Nollywood. So that when I got into mainstream Nollywood, my sensibilities wasn't necessarily to make money, make a commercial flick. No, my immediate positioning was to make a film that was impactful and that would receive critical acclaim. And then commercial success came as a secondary objective. Although my investors had to fight for that positioning that, look, we're giving you money not so that you can make a film that would just get celebrated. No, we need to make our money back. So I was acutely aware of the fact that I had other people's money and we had to make money back for them. But my foundation had always been making a critically acclaimed film and having a great success in festivals if I went that route.
Great. You notice that the chat is full of many questions.
It's buzzing, it's buzzing. I'm seeing all the questions flipping up.
Many questions. I'm just picking a few of them, but this is an interesting one. Fikayomi is asking because you mentioned, which I think was a great point, that actors could be more involved with the stage. And he's
Right.
asking, how do we know if there are auditions for a stage play? Where can one find such information?
Oh, back in the day, there are certain places they would put out auditions, National Theatre, uh, Terra Culture, Bogobiri. There were places that you would go to and you'd see people, you'd see stage people working. But today, I think social media has it. Facebook, Instagram, especially Facebook. Follow the right people. Follow stage producers. Follow stage actors. There are different platforms. There are WhatsApp groups for stage actors. So just keep your ears open for these things. once you meet one stage actor, you have access to the rest of it because that person can now feed you into their world and that ecosystem. So keep your ears and eyes open for it on Facebook, social media, Twitter. They always post notices,
Okay.
so you can have
Now
access
this
there.
one, great. This question now taps still into the acting life. And Olives is asking, as a young actor still building my career, I want to demonstrate range and authentic emotional depth. But I also wonder if leaning into my natural archetypes, the romantic, the dreamer, the emotionally conflicted lover boy, is a smarter branding move right now. How do you think about the tension between showing range and owning a specific type, especially early in a career?
Of showing range and
Yes, owning a specific type, especially early in a career. That's a
I'm sorry,
specific
I
type
didn't
of.
get the question.
So he's saying, how do you think about the tension between showing range
Uh-huh.
in the different
Uh-huh.
characters,
Uh-huh.
and owning a specific,
Owning.
owning, yes,
Oh,
a
okay,
specific
okay,
type?
okay. Okay, I think I get the question. Okay. So starting off, you want to show range. Just forget about owning anything, forget about and you don't even want to be typecast in anything. Like especially when it's like just play all the different kinds of roles, show your range. The industry will typecast you themselves, whether you want to do it or not. They will put you in a hole, in a box. So you want to fight that, especially when you're just starting. Just enjoy yourself, enjoy your career, your budding career. Show range, show that you can play a variety of roles, and you benefit from it from the get go as an actor. Forget about being one kind of actor. It's not wise, not profitable to you. They will do it for you anyways. And even when they try to do it for you, I'm fighting it, because and it ties to another question that was asked about romance and stuff. Right now it feels like YouTube only does romance and maybe drama, and it's because it's catering to demand. So again, that platform is just about the demand and supply. They see that people like romance, they will give them romance so that you make money. It's not that there are not other films, other genres, and people are interested in. It's just that they will fix it. They will fix on that because it's profitable. Now, as an actor, when you do a lot of YouTube films, you appear to be only good at the one kind of acting or the one kind of films because that's what the platform is known for. But you must fight it. You must fight it and look for other roles. If you get the opportunity to play other roles, grab it with both hands and do it really well so that you shine in those other roles and people can see your range pretty much.
Now, let me turn you into a prophet here. What what kinds of stories do you believe will define the next decade of Nollywood?
Wow. So that's a really interesting question. I think two kinds of films. I think two kinds of films will define the next decade. One would be films that would break the norm. I think future looking films that are futuristic, that would explore. There's this genre called Afrofuturism
Yeah.
that many people are not aware of. Maybe festival people would be. But I think with the way the world is going with AI and you know, um, with younger people, younger idealistic people getting into the industry, maybe that will become a genre that might kick off, because it's the way the world is moving. Everything is going tech. Um, AI is taking over. So I think younger filmmakers might want to reimagine the world 20, 30 years from now and start making films of how they see Africa in that space, in an Afrofuturistic point of view. So I think that might pick up. Another genre that might pick up, and I'm just throwing this for safety, would be genres that look back, genres that look back
Yeah.
into time. And I think it's important because not there are younger people. We have that demographic is growing. Younger people who knew nothing about the military era, who knew nothing about Nigeria in colonial times, who knew nothing of Nigeria in pre-colonial times, you know, might want to have a window into that world, you know. And I think with the technology that we have today and with AI, it's even easier to achieve. So I think that might be another area that that filmmakers would dabble into.
Okay, so just one last question from me. There may be others from others, but if you could greenlight one unconventional project without worrying about budget or market constraints, what story what story would you tell?
I love that. Hmm. What story would I greenlight?
Yes.
To be honest, I'll tell a proper story about the Biafran War. I think that's one area that we try to tell. I mean, I mean, we've not really, we've not really, and I say this because I sort of romanticize Nigerian history personally, um, and because of the constraints, I don't think that era has gotten enough justice. I don't think we have really dabbled into what and how, you know, and the constraints are obvious. So if we're saying that those constraints are lifted, I don't have constraints from the government, I don't have budget constraints, I don't have, you know, and I have real access into the files and into, that's a story I'd readily tell. That's a story I would love to tell. Because yeah, obviously, we know why. It's a part of our history that has been quickly buried, and I think we're still healing from it. We haven't healed enough, and I believe that to heal, I think we might need to revisit it and revisit it well, so that people can air and heal the festering wounds.
I fully agree with you. I mean, for a wound to heal properly, sometimes you need to cut it open and
Right,
press the pus out and so on and so
right.
forth. However, in today's world, I think that this is a challenge that many people who have considered making films on this topic, which has made them pause, is that there's still so much sensitivity in some quarters, a reluctance really to take a look at this because perhaps, well, who knows, there may be some guilt here and there or people who do not
Exactly. So
want to
that's what
do
I mean by the
so.
constraints. Yeah. So yeah, and we know where the reluctance comes from. So if that is taken off, if that restraint is released, then gladly I would take a delve into it. I'll delve into it. Maybe
Yes.
another maybe another genre or another area that I would look at would be the African kingdoms before colonialism. You know, tell stories around the great Benin Kingdom. You know, I heard this from a filmmaker that the Oba of Benin never used to appear in public, but the only times he will appear in public, he would have like I don't know what they call a group of leopards. He would have a group of leopards before him. So like he would have, I don't know if they're called a school or whatever of like tens and hundreds of leopards to precede him, and that's how he moves. And I was just so blown away by this imagery of this king who's preceded by leopards, and I was just like, wow, the glory of the Benin Kingdom. And I heard that the Benin Kingdom used to have like street lights long before the Europeans came, street lights with oil lamps, and the streets were tarred and paved, and I was just like, wow, how glue. And the walls were painted. Benin Kingdom had walls that were painted with different colors. And, so some of these pre-colonial times and pre-colonial histories haven't been told,
Yeah.
and were only told by Europeans themselves. And of course, that would be colored by certain sentiments. So imagine what it would feel like for us to tell our own stories about those times if we were to find the books and find the oral history that would take us there. With the technology we have now, I think it will be beautiful to explore.
I fully agree with you. But then the challenge I think we will face today is the documentation. And we
Right.
are losing. We're
Exactly.
losing quite a bit of that,
Exactly.
which is the urgent piece of work that needs to be done for us really to document. Because there's
Yes.
so much, like you have said, our stories have likely been told by others. Now we have to
Yes.
tell our own stories and tell really the reality, the truth of that. But once again, the challenge of documenting. So that's the other aspect I think that's required in filmmaking, really, the act of actually documenting. So anyhow, the ball is out there for those who want to pursue a career in that line. Now, I'll take a last question from Olives, who also says it's a final question, and says, I left studying accounting in the university to chase my dreams and build my character. I wish I could go to actual film school abroad and get a BA in an acting program, but I can't, at least not now. What new path would you advise I follow now, being in Nigeria, besides academics, where I can learn acting? Because everyone seems to keep pressuring me to get an actual degree. What would you say, sir?
I think you need an education. You don't need an actual degree. I mean, a degree would be good to have, but you already have a degree in accounting. I don't think you, in today's world, I don't think you actually need a degree in acting. However, I think you do need education in acting, both formal and informal. But here's how you can go about a formal education in acting. You can take courses. There are master classes online. You can take short courses. You can if I really believe in in-person uh, tutoring, but that's the best for me. If you can travel or go anywhere where you can be trained by someone in person, in Nigeria, abroad, wherever you can. If you can do that, great. Take acting courses. There are Nigerians who give acting courses. Ifoma Fafunwa, I don't know if you know of
Mm,
Mrs. Ifoma
yeah.
Fafunwa, gives acting, is an acting coach, gives acting courses. Lofudo is an academy that you can get acting courses from. So there are a number of those in Nigeria. Abroad in Del York, I saw someone write Del York.
Yes.
I think Ebony Life as well. Elka has an
Mm,
acting class as well. If the way you can get in-person training, you can go abroad as well and get in-person training. And then you can also go online and take online courses if you can't do in person. Yeah, online courses that you can take abroad, and in Nigeria you have access to these things. So by all means, get formal training, and then also practice every opportunity you get. My practice started from church. I started acting in church, in school. So I had almost 10,000 hours of practice before I even got into the industry, because I was always acting. Even while I was in engineering, while I was studying engineering, I was always acting. So please don't leave your acting to only training. Look for opportunities to express your training.
Yes.
Join a theater troupe, act in your church, act at school. Every opportunity you get, act. If you get small gigs, don't think it's too small. Throw yourself into it and do it well. And then lastly, position yourself. Train, rehearse or practice, and then position yourself. How do you position yourself? You network, talk to people, go to places where you meet actors, where you meet producers and directors, post relevant stuff on social media, follow the right people, flood your timeline with acting materials, industry materials. You have no business following certain people that don't add to your craft, like follow the right people so that you see when, because we're all addicted to social media in this day and age.
Yeah.
You might as well take advantage of it. Be feeding your mind with things that will help you. So that's my little advice to you.
Thank you. We will take one very last question. Our time is almost out. This is from Ayowale, and I think it's an interesting question. Ayowale says, "Thank you very much, Uncle Daniel. This question borders on theory. We have great filmmakers in Nollywood, but I'm yet to see intellectualism with our works. Yes, I raised this with my lecturers during my postgraduate program in film. I have noticed theoretical patterns in stage drama, but not in Nigerian films. I saw Harley Quinn and the director just broke the fourth wall, experimental cinema. So, for example, I saw this movie Mentally, and I believe it's an experimental one, but the audience just underrated the film because they didn't understand it. What advice would you give a budding intellectual who desires to go with experimental films? Do you think such will thrive?
You're speaking my language because I used to be like you. I used to be like this. Like I used to be like, oh. Then my lecturers told me, Daniel, you're making films in your head. You're making films. The audience is not going to get into your head to watch it. But there's a place and a time for that. Experimental films and experimental festivals and academic work. Yes, there's a place and time for that. However, here's what I'll say to you. Because film is both an art and a business, and there is a handshake between both worlds. For you to be successful, you want to situate, and I speak very freely here, in my point of view, you want to situate yourself in a sweet spot in the middle where there's a handshake of both the art and the business of it. Do your films that will inspire people to think and will inspire creativity and will express your creative side, but also that is relevant for to a wide audience, because that's where financiers and investors have a space to play when your film is marketable and is, there's a place to make their monies back from their investment. If not, you might as well, and it's fine if you don't want to play in this sweet middle. It's totally fine. But you have to learn how to position yourself. There are people who made art films. There are Nigerian filmmakers, my contemporaries, who make purely art films. Surreal 16 is a group of filmmakers who make really leftist films, films that are leaning on the arts. And these guys, they just go to festivals. They don't bother with your cinemas. They don't bother with your. However, the last AMVCAs proved something quite interesting, that you can lean on the art side and still have crossover appeal. My Father's Shadow is one of those films where it leaned heavily, if I do say so myself, and I stand corrected, who leaned heavily on the art side in expressionism and things like that, but still made it to cinemas, still got awards, still coming back to the cinemas, again, there's no hard and fast rule. Choose your path and stick to it. Okay, there are filmmakers making intellectual films. Trust me, there are filmmakers making art for art films. You just have to find your tribe and stick to them. There's Abba Makama, who made Green White Green, and who made a couple of other films that are leaning towards towards art house, Nigerian art house, avant-garde films. And then there are also people on the other extremes. I won't mention names, who will tell only purely commercial films, only films to pander to interest of the viewers, who make films that would only make money, might not make sense, might not make, but will make money. And they're fine with that. They're fine with that. They're happy with that. Their investors are happy as well. Even the audience is happy too, because they have a great time. So you ask yourself, what else do you want? The audience is happy. The investors are happy. Everybody's happy. So find your tribe, find where you want to put your voice as a filmmaker and stick to it.
Thank you, Daniel. That was a great response. Thank you so much. And thank you for all the so many words. Our time is just about up. Thank you. This has been truly engaging. And thanks to our audience for their questions. Great questions. I'm sorry we couldn't take all of them, but well, there'll be other opportunities, I guess. And well, if you can, Daniel, please look through the chats. There are many people there who want to connect with you. Who'll be very happy too. So
Sure.
thanks once again,
Can
Daniel.
I just add that on social
Sure.
media, I'm at Etim-Effiong on Instagram, at Etim-Effiong _ on Twitter, on Facebook at Daniel Etim-Effiong. So please reach out to me, send me questions. I get a lot of these things. So sometimes I just, pick things at random, and I respond. Yes, my private DMs are private, but I actually go there and actually look through my requests. I do that. I pride myself in being one of the few people that actually go through unsolicited DMs to see what I can respond to. I might not be able to respond to everything, but I will respond to a few. Thank you, sir, for having
Yeah.
me.
No, thank you very much, Daniel. Thank you very much. I hope we can invite you to our campus to be with us physically at some point. It'll be nice
I'd love
to.
that. I'd
Oh,
love
that'll be
that if the
good.
opportunity presents itself. Hopefully,
Fine.
when
We
I'm
will.
free,
We will.
because yeah.
Yeah, I know
Thank
you're
you.
quite busy. We will plan
Yeah.
towards that. Thank you so much. Thanks again. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Daniel. This was fascinating. And well, Uzor is not here, but thanks also to Uzor, who
I'll pass the
interrupted his
message
shoot.
across.
Exactly. We appreciated it. Thank you so much. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye bye.